I didn't catch my husband cheating. I caught him lying to my face, calmly, like it meant nothing. It was Tuesday. He was eating cereal. I asked him where he'd been the night before. He said, "Work dinner, I told you." But his voice had this flatness, like he'd practiced it. I said, "You didn't tell me." He looked at me, right in the eyes, and he said, "Yes, I did. You probably weren't listening." That's when I knew something had shifted. Not broken yet, just shifted. We'd been married 23 years, 2 kids, both in college now. The house felt enormous without them, just us and all that space. He worked in finance. I worked part-time at a dental office. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. We had routines, Friday movies, Sunday pancakes. We'd stop talking during dinner sometimes, but I thought that was normal. I thought that was marriage. The lies started small. He said he'd pick up milk. He didn't. When I mentioned it, he said he'd already gotten some last week. I opened the fridge. No milk. He looked genuinely confused. He said, "Huh, I could have sworn." Then he kissed my forehead and went to get some. Like I was the one misremembering. A week later, he said he'd called his mother. I ran into her at the grocery store. She said she hadn't heard from him in a month. When I brought it up, he said, "I texted her." "That counts." I said, "You told me you called." He sighed. Like I was being difficult, he said, "Does it really matter?" And I didn't have an answer, because it shouldn't matter, but it did. I started keeping a list. In my phone, under notes, I titled it Groceries in case he ever looked. March 14th, said he worked late, shirt smelled like perfume, said it was from a hug with a co-worker. March 19th, said he was at gym bag in same spot as morning. March 22nd, said he loved the dinner I made. I hadn't made dinner. We'd ordered in. The list got longer. I didn't know what I was collecting evidence for. I just knew I needed to remember, because he kept making me feel like I couldn't trust my own brain. Our daughter called one Sunday. She asked if we were okay. I said, "Of course, why?" She said, "Dad seems distant when we talk." I wanted to say he's distant with me too, but I didn't. I said, "He's just stressed with work." After we hung up, I sat on the couch. I realized I'd been protecting him, making excuses, and I didn't even know what I was protecting him from. I started watching him differently. The way he held his phone, screen always tilted away. The way he showered right when he got home, every single day now. The way he asked me about my day but didn't wait for the answer. He was going through motions, and I was emotion. I tried to bring it up once, gently. I said, "Do you still love me?" He didn't hesitate. He said, "Of course I do. What kind of question is that?" Then he held my face. He kissed me. He said, "You're my wife." Like that was proof enough. Like saying the words made them true. I found the credit card statement by accident. It was in his car. I was looking for the registration. There were charges to restaurants I'd never been to, hotels in the next town over, a jewelry store. I'd never gotten any jewelry. I took a picture of it. I didn't confront him, I just saved it, added it to my invisible collection. That night, I made his favorite dinner, pot roast. He barely touched it. He said he'd had a big lunch. I asked where. He said, "Just a sandwich place." I looked at the credit card charges on my phone under the table. $147 at a steakhouse. The same day. Lunchtime. I said, "Must have been a good sandwich." He didn't catch the edge in my voice. Or maybe he did and just didn't care. I started testing him. Little things. I'd say, "Remember when we went to that bed and breakfast in Vermont?" We'd never been to Vermont, he'd say. "Oh yeah, that was nice." I'd make up conversations we never had. He'd agree we'd had them. I'd mention people we'd never met. He'd ask how they were doing. He wasn't just lying anymore. He was living in a completely different reality. And he needed me to live there too. Our son came home for spring break. He looked at his father differently too. At dinner, my husband told a story about work. Our son said, "Dad, you told us that story at Christmas." My husband said, "No, I didn't." Our son looked at me. I nodded. He had, word for word. My husband laughed it off. He said, "You two are ganging up on me." But his eyes went cold. After our son went to bed, my husband said, "Don't undermine me in front of the kids." I said, "I didn't." He said, "You backed him up, made me look like a liar." I wanted to say, "You are a liar," but I didn't. I just went to bed. I started sleeping differently. I'd wake up at 3 in the morning. He'd be on his phone, the light glowing on his face. When he noticed me awake, he'd click it off. He'd say, "Just checking work emails." At 3 in the morning, every night, I'd pretend to believe him, because it was easier, because the truth was building up inside me like water behind a dam, and I wasn't ready for it to break. Went to lunch with my sister. She said I looked tired. I said I was fine. She said, "You don't seem fine." I almost told her everything. But then I thought about what would happen if I said it out loud. If I told someone else, then it would be real. Then I'd have to do something about it. So I said, "Just work stress." She didn't believe me, but she let it go. I hired someone, a private investigator. I found her online. She was a woman in her 50s. She looked kind. I met her at a coffee shop 2 towns over. I gave her his schedule, his license plate, a photo. She didn't ask me why. She just said, "I'll be in touch." I paid her in cash. I'd been taking out $40 every grocery trip for 2 months, hiding it in a tampon box under the sink. He'd never look there. 3 days later, she sent me an email. Just photos. No words needed. Him getting into a car with a woman. A blonde woman. Younger than me. Maybe 35. They were laughing. His hand on her lower back. Them going into a hotel. Coming out 2 hours later. Him kissing her in the parking lot. Not a quick kiss. A real one. The kind he used to give me, before marriage became a routine. I looked at those photos for an hour. I didn't cry. I just felt empty. Like someone had scooped me out. I didn't confront him. Not yet. I wanted to see how far he'd go. How long he'd keep lying. I started asking him questions I already knew the answers to. Where were you? Who were you with? What did you eat? He lied every single time. Easily, like breathing. And I'd smile, and I'd nod. And inside I was keeping score. Our anniversary came. 23 years. He forgot. I didn't remind him. I waited to see if he'd remember. He came home at 10 that night. I was sitting in the dark. He turned on the light. He jumped. He said, "Jesus, you scared me." I said, "Happy anniversary." I watched his face, the panic, the quick calculation, then the recovery. He said, "Oh my God, honey." "I'm so sorry, work was insane." He came over. He knelt in front of me. He took my hands. He said, "I'll make it up to you this weekend, I promise." I said, "Okay." He thought he'd gotten away with it, but I saw something in his eyes. Relief. He was relieved I wasn't angry, because anger would have required energy, effort, care, and he didn't have any of that left for me. The investigator called me. She said there was more. The woman wasn't the first. There'd been others. For years, she had proof. Hotels, restaurants, gifts, a whole second life. She asked if I wanted the full report. I said yes. It arrived the next day, 47 pages. I read every word. There were 3 women total over the past 5 years. The current one had been going on for 8 months, the longest one. He'd taken her to places we'd talked about going. The coast, that little inn we'd seen online. He'd lived out our plans with someone else. I made a decision. I wasn't going to scream. I wasn't going to throw things. I wasn't going to beg him to explain. I was going to be smart. I called a lawyer. A woman my sister recommended. She was tough. She didn't do the sympathetic head tilt. She said, "Do you want to destroy him or do you want to move on?" I said, "I want what I'm owed." She smiled. She said, "Good answer." I spent 2 weeks gathering documents, bank statements, retirement accounts, the deed to the house, his salary information. I photographed everything. I uploaded it all to a secure folder. I opened my own bank account. I started transferring small amounts, 50 here, 75 there. He never noticed. He wasn't paying attention. He thought I was the same woman who asked him about his day, who made pot roast, who believed his lies. He had no idea who I'd become. I picked a Thursday. Nothing special about it. He came home at 7. I'd made dinner, spaghetti. His plate was on the table. Mine wasn't. He said, "You're not eating." I said, "Sit down." Something in my voice made him pause. He sat. I slid the folder across the table. He said, "What's this?" I said, "Open it." He did. I watched his face drain. Every photo, every receipt, every lie documented. He looked up at me. He said, "I can explain." I said, "No." Just that. No. He tried anyway. He said it wasn't what it looked like. He said they were just friends. He said I was overreacting. He said I was paranoid. He said I'd pushed him away. He said I'd stopped trying. He said it was my fault. Every word he said made me calmer, because I'd been right. About all of it. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't imagining things. He was exactly who I thought he was. I slid the second folder across. Divorce papers. He said, "Wait." I said, "I've waited 23 years for you to see me. I'm done waiting." He said, "What about the kids?" I said, "They're adults. They'll understand." He said, "What about our life?" I said, "We don't have a life. We have a performance. And I'm tired of acting." He stood up. He said, "You can't do this." I said, "I already did." He moved out that weekend. Our son helped him pack. Didn't say much. Our daughter called crying, not because we were divorcing, because she'd suspected for years and felt guilty she hadn't said anything. I told her it wasn't her job to fix her father. It wasn't mine either. The house felt different without him. Not empty. Lighter. I could breathe. I didn't realize how much space his lies had taken up, how much energy it took to pretend, to smooth things over, to be smaller so he could feel bigger. He tried to negotiate. Through lawyers. He wanted the house. Half my retirement. Alimony. My lawyer laughed. She said he's delusional. We had proof of everything, the affairs, the financial deception. He'd taken out a credit card I didn't know about. 40,000 in debt. For her. For them. My lawyer said we could bury him. I said, "Do it." The settlement came through 6 months later. I got the house, most of the retirement. He got his shame and his debt. He married the blonde woman 3 months after our divorce finalized. Our kids didn't go to the wedding. I started therapy, not because I was broken, because I wanted to understand how I'd let it happen, how I'd ignored my own instincts. My therapist said something that stuck with me. She said, "You didn't ignore them. You just thought being a good wife meant trusting him more than you trusted yourself." She was right. I'd spent 2 decades making myself smaller, quieter, less sure, so he could be comfortable. I went back to school, dental hygiene degree, better pay, better hours. I made friends in my classes, women my age, starting over 2. We'd get coffee after, talk about our lives, our ex-husbands, our futures. I laughed more than I had in years. I ran into him once, at the grocery store. He was with her. She looked tired. He looked older. He saw me. He opened his mouth. I just walked past. I didn't owe him words. I didn't owe him closure. I didn't owe him anything. My daughter asked me if I was lonely. I thought about it. Really thought about it. I said no. I was lonely when I was married. Now I'm just alone. And that's different. She hugged me. She said, "I'm proud of you, Mom." I cried. Not sad tears. Relief. I'm 52 now. I live in the same house, but it's mine. I painted the bedroom, a soft blue. I got rid of his recliner, bought a reading chair instead. I sit there at night with tea. Sometimes I read. Sometimes I just sit and think about how close I came to spending the rest of my life pretending. I don't hate him. I don't think about him enough to hate him. But I learned something. When someone shows you who they are, believe them. Not the words, the actions, the patterns, the feeling in your gut that something's wrong. That feeling is trying to save you. Listen to it. I'm dating now. Nothing serious. Just coffee dates, dinners. A man asked me what I was looking for. I said, "Someone who doesn't make me doubt my own reality." He laughed. He thought I was joking. I wasn't. My son told me his father complains about me. Says I took everything. Says I ruined his life. My son said, "Should I defend you?" I said, "No, let him tell his story. I know the truth. That's enough." Sometimes I think about the woman I was, the one who made pot roast and kept quiet, the one who collected lies in her phone, who paid a stranger to tell her what she already knew. I'm grateful to her. She did what she had to do to survive, and then she did what she had to do to live. Those are two different things. I'm not telling you this story so you'll feel sorry for me. I'm telling you because maybe you're keeping a list too. Maybe you're pretending. Maybe you're making yourself smaller. Maybe you think it'll get better. It won't. Not unless you make it better. I didn't catch my husband cheating. I caught him erasing me, one lie at a time, one dismissal, one gaslighting conversation, until I almost forgot who I was. But I remembered, and I chose me. Finally. That's not the twist. The twist is this. He called me last month, late at night. He said, "I made a mistake." He said, "I miss you." He said, "Can we try again?" I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I didn't feel anything at all. I said, "I hope you find what you're looking for." And I hung up, because I already found what I was looking for. Myself. If you're listening to this, whoever you are, I want you to know something. You're not crazy. You're not too sensitive. You're not imagining it. And you don't have to wait for permission to save yourself. You already have it. From the only person who matters, you. I sleep through the night now. No more 3 a.m. Phone glows. No more lists. No more evidence collecting. Just sleep. Deep and dreamless. And when I wake up, I'm still here. Still whole. Still me. That's enough. That's everything.